With a call. Well, let me start with some housekeeping remarks real quick. Thank you for participating in our remote meeting. We'll do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation. For those of you on Zoom, if you'd like to make public comment on the Zoom screen, please click on the raise hand button. If you are using Zoom on your smartphone, tap your screen, look for the more option, and then raise your hand button on the screen. And for those of you calling in on the phone line only, you can dial in with *9. And for the commissioners here, when you make a motion today or a second, please identify who you are. And from there, we'll go ahead and start with a roll call.
In District 2? In District 3?
Here. District 2 is here.
Thank you. District 3? Banning? Beaumont?
Here.
Calamasa?
Here.
Canyon Lake?
Here.
Cathedral City?
Here.
Coachella? Desert Hot Springs?
Present.
Lake Elsinore?
Here.
Palm Desert?
Here.
Palm Springs?
Present.
San Jacinto? Riverside?
Here.
Wildemar? Thank you. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And now we'll go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Molina, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I'd be honored. Place your hand over your heart and begin. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to public comments. Do we have any public comments for items listed not on the agenda?
I am not seeing anybody with their hands raised.
Okay, and are there any additions or revisions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. And we'll move on to consent calendar. Before we take a vote, is there anyone who would like to speak on items on the consent calendar or have items pulled?
I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, and I will entertain a motion for the
Move
consent
approval,
calendar.
Cathedral City.
District 2 second.
And can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. District 2?
Yes.
Beaumont?
Yes.
Calamasa?
Yes.
Canyon Lake?
Aye.
Cathedral City?
Yes.
Desert Hot Springs?
Aye.
Lake Elsinore?
Aye.
Palm Desert?
Abstain.
Palm Springs?
Aye.
Riverside?
Aye.
Thank you. That item passes.
Okay,
And may I, please, I'm sorry, the abstention is to be registered for the minutes. And all other is yes.
okay, thank you. And number 7, state and federal legislative update. And we'll hear from David Knudsen on that one.
Good morning, Chair White. Good morning, committee members. Today, I will provide you with a summary of the state and federal legislative activities taking place. I will begin with the state update. On March 10th, 2021, Governor Newsom delivered his third State of the State address. In years past, the governor typically delivers this annual address before a joint session of the legislature in Sacramento. This year, the speech was held at an empty Dodger Stadium to comply with COVID-19 safety protocols and to symbolize the number of Californians killed by COVID-19. Governor Newsom did not announce any new policy initiatives, as is customary at this event. Instead, he focused on the state's actions in response to COVID-19 pandemic and looking forward to economic recovery. The legislature continues to hold hearings on pending legislation. We are tracking and providing behind-the-scenes input on bills based on our adopted 2021 state and federal legislative platform and through our partnership with Transportation Coalition members. In particular, we're monitoring tolling, climate action, and transportation project delivery legislation. I will have position recommendations for the Commission to consider over the next few months as bills are heard in committees. Today, I will focus the state summary on CalSTA's March 10th, 2021 release of their draft Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, otherwise known as CAPDI. You will recall from previous reports that CalSTA has been working on this plan in response to Governor Newsom's executive orders in 1919 and in 7920, which are targeted at reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the transportation sector. Under the draft plan, where feasible and within existing funding program structures, the state will invest discretionary transportation funds in sustainable infrastructure projects that align with its climate, health, and social equity goals. CalSTA will invest its annual discretionary portfolio of approximately $5 billion to help this effort. Included in the staff report is a list of 10 guiding principles that will be used to steer these investments. CalSTA has indicated that the state transportation funds, including revenue collected under SB 1, must be used solely for transportation purposes. CalSTA says CAPDI does not change that. As outlined in SB 1, California will continue the fix-it-first approach to maintaining the state's highways, roads, and bridges. Our concerns with CAPDI are rooted in the potential that CalSTA, Caltrans, and the California Transportation Commission and other state agencies will implement the plan in a one-size-fits-all approach that does not consider local issues and needs. Riverside County, for example, is among the fastest-growing counties in the state, and our residents also have among the longest daily commutes in California. Highway congestion represents one of the top 10 concerns for our residents. The draft CAPDI makes significant transportation policy shifts, which will likely increase scrutiny on future highway projects, including on highway projects that increase capacity or VMT. Likewise, the plan does not help or incentivize job center relocation, which would reduce the need for long commutes outside of our region. For the last several months, RCTC staff have participated in numerous briefings regarding the development of the CAPDI to ensure the plan's success for growing regions like Riverside County. Specifically, staff comments have included 1, protecting the original intent of SB 1, 2, limit any redirection of transportation funds, and 3, protect our local control, investment, and our resources. RCTC does not oppose reducing pollution or providing safe walking, biking, and transit access. Indeed, RCTC has led the way in many of these efforts within Riverside County. Measure A is intended to improve all transportation modes, including on highways, public transit, rideshare alternatives, and local streets. Our goal is to ensure that this plan's implementation allows for regional variation to consider the diverse issues within regions like Riverside County. CalSTA will present the plan to the CTC on March 24th, 2021, and to a joint meeting between the CTC, the California Air Resources Board, and the California Department of Housing and Community Development on April 8th, 2021. Opportunity for public comment will end on May 4th, with a final plan release by June. RCTC staff will review and submit comments on the draft plan consistent with the Commission's adopted state and legislative platform. Turning now to the federal update, with COVID-19 relief legislation signed by President Biden earlier this month, House and Senate committees are preparing to draft surface transportation reauthorization legislation to be passed before the September 30th, 2021 deadline. The Senate's Environmental and Public Works Committee, with jurisdiction over highway programs, requested transportation stakeholders submit policy priorities which will be considered during the drafting phase of the reauthorization legislation. RCTC's staff met with both Senators Feinstein and Padilla staff to recommend 2 specific policy priorities. 1, ensure RCTC is eligible for all new discretionary grant programs, and recognize the environmental impacts to communities from idling of vehicles at railroad crossings. These priorities are based on the amendments RCTC staff were able to get included during the debate in last year's HR 2, the House's 2020 version of reauthorization legislation. In addition to policy priorities, the House has also moved ahead with allowing its members to offer earmark requests, both for the reauthorization and for appropriation bills. The deadlines for these requests are fast approaching, and RCTC staff is currently evaluating what projects should be submitted for earmark consideration based on the current House criteria. We will continue to engage at the state and federal level to ensure our voice is heard. Finally, I'd like to report that CTC Commissioner Joe Tavallone was reappointed by Governor Newsom last Friday to a new term on the CTC. This concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Knudsen? Seeing none, I'm sorry.
I was just saying I didn't see any hands raised. I'm sorry.
No problem. So seeing none, I know this is an item for receive and file, but I've been advised, since we are forwarding it to the commission for final action, that is action. And so we do need a motion on this item.
Pardon me, Chair. It looks like Ann Mayer has her hand raised.
Oh,
I had a
sure.
late hand raise.
Okay,
Just to reiterate, we are thrilled that Commissioner Tavaloni was reappointed to the CTC. He's long been a very strong supporter of the Inland Empire, and frankly, we were a bit concerned that the seat would go to someone outside of the Inland Empire. So we are thrilled that Joe Tavaloni is still on duty. So that was excellent news. And I did also want to mention, with respect to the earmarks, the earmarks are relatively limited in terms of dollar size. They're going to be small, $1 million, $2 million, $500,000. They're small earmarks. So I just wanted to make sure that we shared that. And we'll be pulling from the list of priority projects that the commission has already approved. This is the first time we've had an earmark opportunity in quite a while. So we will be making sure that we submit at least 2 projects to each of our congressional delegation members. So stay tuned. Thank you.
thank you. So do I have a motion to forward this item to commission for final action?
So move.
Second, Cathedral City.
Thank you. And may we have a roll call.
District 2,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Aye.
Cathedral City,
Yes.
Desert Hot Springs,
Aye.
Lake Elsinore,
Aye.
Palm Desert,
Yes.
Palm Springs,
Aye.
Riverside.
Aye.
Thank you. The item passes.
Thank you. Number 8, Active Transportation Program Cycle 5, Riverside County Project Recommendations for Metropolitan Planning Organization Regional Program. Jenny Chan for presentation.
Yes, good morning, committee members. I'm Jenny Chan, the Planning and Programming Manager at RCTC. This is an action item for the committee to approve the NPO project list for ATP Cycle 5. Next slide. All right, the Active Transportation Program, or ATP, was signed in 2013 by SB 99 and essentially consolidated various transportation programs and associated funds into one program. The goals of the program are to increase biking and walking, increase safety, advance active transportation efforts of regional agencies to achieve greenhouse gas reductions, enhance public health, and ensure that at least 25% of the funds benefit disadvantaged communities. Pursuant to the legislation, the California Transportation Commission is responsible for developing the guidelines and administering the program. Next slide. This year for Cycle 5, a total of $445 million was available for award. 50% of the funds was allocated for the statewide pot, 10% was allocated to small urban and rural areas, and the remaining 40% was allocated to large NPOs with a 5% set aside for planning projects. Due to the impacts of COVID-19, CTC extended the application deadline by 3 months to September 15, 2020. Applications were evaluated by various types of agencies such as RTPAs, NPOs, Council of Governments, and advocacy and interest groups such as Safe Routes to School and the California Bicycle Coalition. Planning and programming staff also participated in this year's evaluations. The ATP application process allows applicants 2 rounds of opportunity for award. Projects are first evaluated for the statewide pot, and those that are not ranked high enough are automatically provided a second opportunity for funding through the NPO share, which is where we get involved. Our MPO SCAG received $93.4 million, and based on population, RCTC received $11 million to allocate to projects that are not funded the statewide pot. Statewide, CTC received 454 applications requesting $2.3 billion of ATP funds. In Riverside County, 30 applications were submitted requesting $137 million of ATP funds. Next slide. Last month, CTC released the statewide and rural program project recommendations. The program is highly competitive, and due to financial limitations and an increase in larger fund requests in the program, only projects that scored a 92 or above were recommended for award. Last year, the cutoff was at 89 points. In Riverside County, only 2 projects are recommended for award for a total of $2.5 million. City of Paris's project was the highest scoring project for the entire Inland Empire region with a total score of 98 points. County's Safe Routes for All project for the city of San Jacinto was the only non-infrastructure project that was awarded in Southern California. The only other non-infrastructure project that was awarded was in the city of Santa Clara in Northern California. So congrats to both agencies on a successful grant application. CTC will adopt the list of projects at the March CTC meeting on Wednesday. Next slide. Projects not awarded on the statewide level are automatically provided a second opportunity for funding through the large MPO share, which again is where we get involved. Each county transportation commission within SCAG is responsible for assigning additional 20 points to CTC scores to establish the MPO score. Staff apply our 20-point methodology that the commission approved in November 2020 to score the projects. Final scores are attached in the staff report. Next slide. After applying the 20-point methodology, Cathedral City's Downtown Cathedral City Connector project is the highest scoring project. After fully funding this project, the balance available to fund the next set of projects is $6.9 million. The second highest scoring project is CVAC's Coachella Valley Arts and Music line with an ATP request of $16.9 million. Staff inquired with CVAC if the agency could accept partial MPO funding and if CVAC had sufficient funding to cover the $9.9 million balance. CVAC indicated it did not have funds to cover the remaining balance, therefore staff moved down the project list to fully fund the next 3 highest scoring projects. After fully funding 4 infrastructure projects, a balance of $348,000 remained that would be returned to the SCAG MPO share. To utilize the remaining funds in Riverside County, staff recommends funding the county's non-infrastructure project, Safe Routes for All for the city of Hemet, as it is the second highest scoring non-infrastructure project. Riverside County Health has committed to funding the remaining balance of $288,000 with agency funds. Lastly, CVAG is requesting the commission to prioritize the Arts and Music line project in the event that supplemental funding becomes available for Cycle 5. Staff recommends prioritizing CVAC's Coachella Valley Arts and Music line should ATP Cycle 5 supplemental funding becomes available. Next slide. Upon commission approval, staff will forward the project recommendation and contingency list to SCAG for inclusion in the MPO program. SCAG will approve the recommendation at the April Regional Council meeting and forward to CTC for adoption in June. Next slide. In summary, the recommendations before you today are the following. 1, approve the 5 ATP projects for inclusion in ATP Cycle 5 MPO component. 2, authorize staff to adjust the ATP award request for County Safe Routes for All project in the city of Hemet to maximize the funds in Riverside County. 3, submit the list of recommended projects and contingency projects to SCAG. 4, authorize staff to request for state-only ATP funds. 5, program the projects into the FTIP. 6, direct staff to coordinate with project sponsors on project delivery. 7, prioritize CVAC's Coachella Valley Arts and Music line project for any future supplemental ATP Cycle 5 funding. And lastly, forward to the Commission for final action. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right. Is there anyone who would like to question or have a comment? Commissioner Gregory.
Yeah, not a question. I thought that the presentation was really good. I just want to thank everyone that participated in this process. I know for Cathedral City, our projects for our city connectors will increase both the ability to safely bike and walk particularly in our downtown and along 111. There are a lot of gaps, and this will go a long ways towards closing that, but I know it wouldn't be possible without our SCAG representatives, RCTC staff, and the board, of course, CVAG, and our own city staff. So thank you, everyone, for all your hard work in making sure that we're able to continue to make these improvements in our communities. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on this item before we go to vote? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Callum Mason moves to approve.
Cathedral City would happily second.
And roll call, please.
District 2,
A big yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Aye.
Cathedral City,
Yes.
Desert Hot Springs,
Aye.
Lake Elsinore,
Aye.
Palm Desert,
Yes.
Palm Springs,
Aye.
Riverside.
Aye.
Thank you. That item passes.
Thank you. We had no items pulled for number 9, so we'll move on to Commissioner's staff report. This provides the opportunity for commissioners and staff to report on attended and upcoming meeting, conferences, and issues related to commission activities. Is there anyone who would like to speak? I guess
So,
not.
If I may quickly, the CalCog Regional Conference is going on right now. I just jumped off for a little while to attend this, but they're talking about a lot of the same issues that, of course, RCTC deals with all the time. So it's tomorrow also, the CalCog.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, we'll go ahead and move to adjournment. The next budget and implementation committee will be held on 9:30 at April 26. And with that, have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good week.